Crack! The 300-pound heavy bag exploded in front of me. Bare-chested, sweat traced paths over the vicious scars crisscrossing my torso. 3 years ago, I was the captain of the ghost unit, codenamed Pluto. Now, I was just a personal trainer. I thought I was dead, that I could live out my days in peace. Until the gym door was shouldered open. That woman, Seraphina Vance. My ex-wife. I didn't turn around, my voice utterly flat. Ms. Vance, we settled everything 3 years ago. Her voice, icy, trembled behind me. 3 years ago was divorce. Now, I want you to remarry me. One prelude to the storm inside Seraphina Vance's sprawling penthouse duplex. The air was thick enough to choke on. Outside, a torrential downpour lashed the neon-streaked skyline of this near-future metropolis, blurring everything into chaos. In the apartment, the face of star agent Sister Jo was darker than the night outside. Approaching 40, always a whirlwind of efficiency, she was now staring fixedly at her phone screen, her knuckles white from gripping it. On the display, a blood-red word, blasted, was glaring next to a trending topic. Hashtag Seraphina Vance abuses adopted son hashtag. It's over, Sister Jo rasped, the sound grating as if forced from her throat. It's completely over. A grainy, close-up snapshot was tearing across the entire internet. In the photo, Seraphina Vance, the national sweetheart who attained a Triple Crown acting award by age 28 and was placed on a pedestal, was shown gripping 5-year-old Leo's wrist with a look of raw fury on her face. And 5-year-old Leo's expression was one of pain. The comments section below the photo had already turned into a frenzied, celebratory trial. I knew it. Adopted kids never measure up to your own, right? Couldn't keep up the facade. Look at her face. Is that how she truly feels about the kid off camera? Vile. Heartbreaking for the baby. Must be terrified in a home like that. Seraphina's face was paper white. She clutched her phone, tried to explain, Sister Jo, I didn't. The rigging backstage was about to collapse. I was pulling him. Her voice was cut off by Sister Jo's near shout. Who believes that? Sarah, wake up. In this era where public opinion is the verdict, does the truth even matter? What matters is what the public believes. Sister Jo shoved the phone almost into her face. Look, your baby formula, children's clothing, and family endorsement deals. The termination letters are pouring in like snow. This isn't a typical scandal. This is social death. You can explain for a million years that it wasn't intentional, and to them, it's just crocodile tears. Seraphina's world was collapsing. She knew Sister Jo was right. In a world where clicks are the original sin, once you touch the public morality line of child abuse, any verbal defense is pointless. Then, what do I do? She asked blankly, her voice wavering slightly. Sister Jo took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. She stared at Seraphina and said, word by word, the only way out isn't explaining. It's creating new, more impactful evidence. A perfect model family broadcast 24/7. She swiped open her phone and tapped on a show proposal. Family Face-Off, an S+ tier reality show, co-produced by the Mango Channel and Penguin Stream. Full immersion, panoramic live broadcast. This is the only lifeline I can get you. You have to go on, show everyone your maternal instinct. A flicker of hope crossed Seraphina's eyes, but it quickly dimmed. But I'm missing a husband. I know. Sister Jo's gaze grew complicated. So you have to go find him. Go find that civilian. Seraphina's heart plummeted. That name was a forbidden topic she hadn't dared touch for 3 years. That man was the scar etched onto her heart during sleepless nights. Logan Cole. My name is Logan Cole, 29 years old, and I'm a personal trainer. At 10 p.m., the Ultimate Fitness Gym was empty. Bare-chested, my bronze skin gleamed coldly under the lights. Vicious scars were branded across my back and chest like medals, the marks of my past. Sweat slid down my sculpted muscles, dripping onto the floor. I ignored it, mechanically repeating my routine, kicking the 300-pound heavy bag with every ounce of strength I possessed. Crack! The dull explosion echoed in the empty gym. 3 years ago, I was the same, kicking the same bag on the Ghost Unit's training grounds. Back then, my codename was Pluto, captain of the most elite task force. Now, I was just a trainer making minimum wage per hour. I thought my life would continue peacefully until her appearance. The glass door of the gym was pushed open, and a slender figure walked in. She wore an oversized mask and sunglasses, concealing the face that could make men lose their minds, but I could recognize that ingrained, haughty aura, even if she were dust. Seraphina Vance. My ex-wife. Legally speaking, the ex-wife of a dead man. The gym owner, one of my old contacts from my previous life, nearly dropped to his knees when he saw her, stammering an attempt to stop her, but her glare sent him retreating. I stopped moving, not turning around, just grabbing the towel hanging around my neck and violently wiping the sweat from my face. Sweat and memory mixed, salty and bitter. Ms. Vance, we settled everything 3 years ago. My voice was calm level. Behind me came her voice, equally cold but threaded with an undeniable tremor. 3 years ago was divorce. Now, she paused, as if gathering all her strength. I want you to remarry me. I spun around violently, the calm of my eyes instantly shattering, transforming into knives aimed directly at her. Are you insane? 2. The remarriage packed the atmosphere and the VIP lounge was suffocatingly tense. Seraphina took off her sunglasses, revealing bloodshot eyes from exhaustion. She slapped a contract on the table and shoved it toward me. 3 months, $50 million. She feigned composure, but her voice betrayed her nervousness. Play my husband 4, family face-off. I glanced at the string of zeros on the contract, and a cynical smile twisted my lips. Miss Vance, your taste has dropped. Hiring a gym trainer as a shield. I leaned back against the sofa, crossing my arms, my gaze freezing on her. What about your Wall Street childhood sweetheart? Ethan Miller, wasn't that his name? Isn't he the more suitable candidate? The name Ethan Miller was like a needle, stabbing Seraphina hard. She swayed slightly and took a small step back, her face turning even whiter. She took a deep breath, not answering my question, but pulling out a tablet, unlocking it, and playing a video. The screen lit up, showing a cozy children's room. 2 children, about 5 years old, were sprawled on the bed, perfectly sculpted like porcelain dolls. A little girl with pigtails spoke softly into the camera. Mommy, when are you bringing Daddy home? The teacher at kindergarten said, we're the wild children who don't have a dad. The cool-looking little boy next to her pushed up his non-existent glasses and added expressionlessly, according to the white paper on child psychological development, children lacking paternal guidance have a 20% higher tendency toward antisocial personality traits. My breath hitched in that moment. My heart felt like it was violently squeezed by a fist, pain to the point of suffocation. Children. 3 years ago, after waking up in that secret medical facility overseas and learning I was forced into retirement, the first thing I did was try to contact Seraphina Vance. But she had changed all her contact info. She had vanished without a trace. I used my last contacts within the Ghost unit, having my tech recon specialist, Wolf, investigate for me. The result, a cold medical record placed before me. Induced abortion surgery. The date was shortly after my supposed sacrifice. I will never forget that day. We had a massive fight right before I left for the BIS mission. She cried that I was never home, making her feel insecure. In a fit of pique, she'd said, if you keep this up, I'm not having this baby. I thought my death had utterly crushed her, that she'd actually terminated our child. For 3 years, endless guilt was a viper gnawing at my soul. I had ruined her, ruined our home, ruined that unborn child. That's why, after retiring, I chose to come to the city where she lived, working as a trainer, silently watching over her. I didn't dare reveal myself because I thought she hated me, and because, legally, I was already a dead man. Now, looking at the 2 children in the video, I understood. She probably adopted them to fill the emptiness in her heart. I caused her to lose the chance to be a mother. How can I now stand by and watch the children she adopted be talked about because they didn't have a father? This guilt is my original sin. I picked up the pen from the table, ignoring the $50 million contract, and signed my name directly on the last page. I don't want a single cent of that money. I looked up, meeting Seraphina Vance's eyes, my voice hoarse. But I have 3 conditions. First, off camera, we are strangers. Second, when the show ends, we part ways, never to meet again. Third, I paused, my gaze settling on the faces of the 2 children on the tablet, my voice carrying unquestionable resolve. During the show, I require the absolute safety of these 2 children. No one touches them. Awkward family portrait. Seraphina froze, as if surprised I'd agreed so readily, and even more surprised by my conditions. She nodded, her eyes slightly reddening. Deal. The filming day for Family Face-Off arrived, and we moved into the dream villa provided by the production team. The villa was extravagantly luxurious, complete with a pool and garden, and 360-degree cameras like cold, unblinking eyes monitoring everything. Per the demanding director Chien's instructions, all families had to pose for an initial moving and family portrait by the front gate. The scene was a masterclass in human observation. Control group number 1 was the chart-topping idol, Ashton Hayes, posing with his 4-year-old nephew, little Ashton. Ashton Hayes, 22, with makeup so flawless he looked like an action figure, was frantically posing with his nephew, flashes popping incessantly. Control group number 2 was CEO Mr. Lou, a real estate mogul, and his model wife, Mrs. Lou. This wealthy, estranged couple, he 45, she 30, had a 6-year-old daughter sandwiched between them. They stood miles apart, their smiles more strained than any grimace. Then it was our turn. Seraphina was wearing a custom couture gown, radiating her cool queen aura. I was in a simple black t-shirt and cargo pants, standing beside her like an out-of-place bodyguard. A 5-foot gap separated us. The atmosphere was so icy it could freeze water. Director Chien, behind the monitors, frantically ran a hand through his hair and barked into his headset. Ms. Vance. Mr. Cole. Closer. You're a married couple. Seraphina's body stiffened like wood. Just then, the two little ones made their move. Little Seraphina, our resident sweet pea, toddled to the space between us, looked up with her wide, watery eyes, and chirped, "Daddy, Mommy, you need a hug, or the director, Uncle, won't give us dinner." Her brother, Leo Cole, our resident little hacker, walked up to me, lowered his voice so only we could hear, and said, "Dad, your performance needs strengthening. Per contract clause 3.7, you are required to provide affectionate services, or it constitutes a breach." Me? I took a deep breath, reminding myself, this is the mission. I stiffly extended my hand and placed it on Seraphina's shoulder. Her body jolted. Through the thin fabric, I could feel the burning heat of her palm. She managed to force a smile, but it was worse than crying. Click. The photographer snapped the shot. This most awkward family portrait in history was instantly broadcast across the web via the live feed. The live chat exploded. Holy crap. The A-lister's civilian husband? Is this hot? That muscle. Those scars. That raw masculinity. Hot doesn't matter. Look how fake they are. You can feel the awkwardness through the screen. Hashtag Seraphina Vance Logan Cole fake. Hashtag someone start this hashtag. Wait, doesn't this guy look familiar? I swear I've seen him somewhere. Stop thinking. That's Coach Cole from Ultimate Fitness. My trainer. When did he become the A-lister's husband? My world is crumbling. For the challenge of the Three Little Pigs night fell, and the villa was brightly lit. The first task from the production team arrived. Parent-child bedtime story. This should have been a heartwarming segment, but the producers injected malice. They only provided one master bedroom for each family. A 10-foot wide bed sat in the center of the room, silently mocking our fake marriage. Seraphina and I exchanged a glance, recognizing the same awkwardness in each other's eyes. We simultaneously reached into our suitcases and pulled out our sleeping bags. I planned to sleep on the rug. She planned to take the sofa, leaving the big bed for the children. However, our plan was ruthlessly foiled by the two little ones. No, no. Little Seraphina, seeing us take out the sleeping bags, pouted, and tears instantly sprang to her eyes, a 5-year-old method actress. The storybook said little babies must sleep between mommy and daddy, or the big bad wolf will get them. With that, she exerted all her tiny strength and, like an ant, struggled to drag my sleeping bag and Seraphina's over to the big bed, placing them side by side. Leo Cole calmly adjusted his non-existent glasses and added his academic supplement in his characteristically precocious tone. According to Section 3 of Child Psychology, a sleeping environment lacking joint parental presence is highly conducive to developing acquired emotional disorders. I don't want to be antisocial. Seraphina and I, under the children's coercion, we could only grit our teeth and lie down. On one large bed, 2 sleeping bags were pressed tightly together, with 2 small bodies sandwiched between them. I could clearly smell a familiar, delicate fragrance from Seraphina. Not the expensive cologne scent of Ethan Miller, but a masculine scent mixed with faint sweat that signaled comfort to her. She was tense, feet mirroring each other, her body rigid as a bowstring. I was just as stiff. To ease the tension, I cleared my throat, picked up a storybook, and began reading The Three Little Pigs. My voice was deep, striving for steadiness, just like giving a mission brief to new recruits in the army. Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs. Seraphina quietly turned her head, watching my profile silhouetted by the bedside lamp. Memories from 3 years ago flooded back. Back then, he would do the same, using his deep voice to tell her all sorts of clumsy stories when she couldn't sleep during her pregnancy. Just as the atmosphere began to take on a hint of warmth, the unexpected happened. I reached the part. The third little pig built a very sturdy house out of bricks. Leo Cole suddenly interrupted. Illogical. From the perspective of structural mechanics and defense, the optimal solution would be a reinforced concrete bunker, incorporating sloped armor to increase the chance of ricochets, while establishing interlocking fields of fire. Me? Before I could react, little Seraphina chimed in, blinking her big eyes, her face full of sympathy. Poor big bad wolf. He just wanted a meal. Daddy, did the big bad wolf turn bad because no mommy or daddy told him stories? I was completely stuck. I had led the most elite special forces and handled the most dangerous missions, but I never imagined that raising kids would be harder than going undercover in the Golden Triangle. The live chat exploded with laughter. Ha 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 ha. The A-lister is awkward. Isn't she the queen of acting? Her performance here is lacking. Coach Cole, I commanded special forces, not children. This question is outside my scope. No answer. The boy is a hardcore, straight-laced STEM kid. The girl is a soft, saintly sweet pea. What kind of divine configuration is this Dragon Phoenix pair? Amazing. Wait, check the trending topics. The first PR push seems successful. The hashtag Seraphina Vance child abuse hashtag has been knocked down by hashtag Logan Cole gets roasted reading Three Little Pigs hashtag. Dying of laughter. 5 culinary duel the next day. The production team announced the second task, the family cooking competition. The requirement was for each family to prepare a dinner table that tasted most like home within a set time limit. This task was practically tailor-made for the control groups to fail spectacularly. The top idol, Ashton Hayes, a delicate boy who couldn't boil water, pulled out his phone and secretly ordered takeout from a 5-star hotel, attempting to plate the food himself. As soon as he arranged the dishes, Leo Cole, using his tablet, hacked the takeout order and accidentally projected it onto the living room's giant TV screen. The resulting awkward silence was palpable. The estranged couple, Mr. and Mrs. Liu, argued fiercely in front of the national audience over who should cook, scaring their 6-year-old daughter into a fit of tears, resulting in a single bowl of instant ramen to end their ordeal. Just then, an uninvited guest descended upon the villa, Ethan Miller. He was dressed in a perfectly tailored Armani suit, his hair slicked back immaculately, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, exuding the unmistakable aura of a Wall Street elite. He arrived as a special guest friend of Seraphina Vance and carried an exquisite food container. He walked straight into the kitchen, elegantly pulling out top-grade foie gras and black truffle from the box to prepare a complicated French seared foie gras with black truffle. Every movement was like a carefully choreographed performance, full of artificiality. While searing the foie gras, he smiled at me with a subtle air of superiority. Mr. Cole is a trainer. I assume he usually only eats boiled chicken breast and broccoli? That won't do. Our Sarah has very discerning taste. That familiar "our Sarah" made my brow furrow slightly. I ignored him and quietly took out the 2 most basic ingredients from the fridge, a block of tofu and 2 potatoes. Seeing the items in my hand, Ethan's contempt deepened. Soon, Ethan's plate, radiating the scent of pure wealth, was ready. The devilish director, Chien, opportunely swung the camera toward me, deliberately stirring up trouble, and asked, Mr. Cole, where's your dish? Don't tell me it's just boiled potatoes. I didn't reply, simply carrying 2 plates to the dining table. One plate was wincy tofu. In the clear broth, an entire block of tofu had been sliced into thousands of hair-thin strands, each distinct, dispersing in the soup like mist. The other plate was Phoenix spreading its wings. Ordinary shredded potatoes, transformed by my hands into a vivid, proud phoenix, seemingly ready to take flight. Silence descended upon the entire area. Everyone was stunned by the 2 dishes presented. Who would have thought such common ingredients could be turned into art worthy of a state banquet? This knife skill was honed in the wilderness, practicing tirelessly to bring a sliver of hope and pleasure to my comrades in desperate situations. Ethan's smile froze. His expensive French seared foie gras instantly looked garish next to these 2 creations. Seraphina was so shocked she couldn't speak. She never knew Logan Cole possessed such culinary talent. She cautiously picked up a forkful of the phoenix-shaped potato shreds and put it in her mouth. A simple, pure sweet and sour flavor blossomed on her palate. This was the taste. Her eyes instantly welled up. This was her favorite flavor when she was pregnant 3 years ago. Back then, he always made it for her in different ways. She thought this taste, this connection, was something she would never experience again in her lifetime. The live chat, after a few seconds of silence, erupted completely. WTF? I must be blind. Did a machine cut those tofu strands? That's scientifically impossible. Upstairs, I rewatched it in 25x speed. It was definitely hand-cut. Is this guy God? Ethan Miller's foie gras suddenly doesn't smell good. That's the smell of money. Coach Cole's potato is the smell of the divine. I declare Coach Cole my one true idol starting today. Hashtag Logan Cole straight out of culinary school. Hashtag. Get this hashtag trending. Sixth challenge of the deserted island. The dust had barely settled from the cooking competition when the devilish director Chien announced the next and most crucial S-level task of the reality show. Early the next morning, every family was shoved onto a helicopter. The aircraft roared to life, soaring toward the endless expanse of the ocean. Director Chien, holding a megaphone and sporting a devilish grin, announced to us, "Esteemed guests, welcome to the S-level challenge of Family Face-Off, Survival on a Deserted Island. From this moment on, each family will be deployed to an independent subtropical island for a 24-hour extreme survival challenge." He paused, his smile growing wider. "Oh, right, I forgot to tell you. All your food, drinking water, and communication devices will be confiscated. Good luck." As soon as he finished speaking, the cabin erupted in shrieks and wails. What? Top idol Ashton Hayes was the first to break down, screaming, "My stylist, my face masks, and my live streaming gear. How am I supposed to live without those?" The wealthy, estranged couple, Mr. and Mrs. Liu, were also stunned. They had never endured such hardship. The most amusing was Ethan Miller. As a special guest yesterday, he was supposed to leave today, but director Chien, craving drama, forcibly strapped him onto the plane. Now, dressed in his expensive Armani suit, he shivered in the howling sea wind, yet tried to maintain his elite composure, forcing a strained smile. Haha, a very interesting challenge. Only I, upon hearing the mission, felt my eyes light up. I took a deep breath, inhaling the familiar, briny scent in the sea air. This feeling felt like coming home. 7 Survival Master. The helicopter dropped off our family and the bonus attachment, Ethan Miller, onto a godforsaken spit of land. The island was dense with vegetation and jagged rocks, waves crashing against the reefs with a booming roar. As soon as we landed, Wall Street elite Ethan Miller tried to seize command. He adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and began his financial model analysis. Everyone listen to me. According to my risk assessment model, the optimal strategy now is to find a safe spot, conserve energy, and wait for the rescue team in 24 hours. This offers the best risk-to-reward ratio. Any proactive action risks uncontrollable variables. He spoke with smooth confidence, as if chairing an investment meeting. I didn't pay him any mind. Seraphina was clearly uninterested in this armchair strategizing. In this unknown and dangerous environment, she instinctively felt fear. Subconsciously, she edged closer and closer to me, as if only near me was safe. The 2 little ones reacted completely differently. Little Seraphina was already gathering her emotions, her mouth pouting, tears about to fall in an instant. Wah! I'm gonna die. I don't want to be eaten by wolves. Is there any Wi-Fi here? I need to call the police. Leo Cole, however, was calm. He quietly reached into the belly of his Winnie the Pooh plush toy and pulled out a palm-sized military-grade, encrypted laptop disguised as the toy. Wolf had given it to me as a gag gift after retirement, and I tossed it to my son. He whispered to me, "Dad, I just hacked the weather satellite's real-time data stream. The data shows severe thunderstorms in this area in 3 hours. Analyzing the island's topography, there's a natural cave 2 kilometers to the northwest, the optimal shelter." I glanced at him, slightly surprised, but asked no further questions. This kid was not simple, but I shook my head. 2 kilometers was too far. Taking 2 children and 2 dead weights across difficult terrain, we wouldn't reach it before the storm hit. I ignored Ethan Miller, still droning on about risk analysis, and started my own actions. This was a tactical takedown by the ghost unit. First step, fire. I didn't follow Ashton Hayes' idiotic lead on the other island, visible via drone footage, try to rub sticks together, only to set his toupee on fire. I took the last bottle of water we were allowed to keep. I filled the bottle with seawater, used the principle of concentrating sunlight with a convex lens, and aimed it at a small pile of dry leaves. In under 3 minutes, there was a hiss, a wisp of smoke rose, and the flame successfully caught. Ethan Miller's risk analysis abruptly ceased. He stared, slack-jawed, at the flame in my hand, as if watching a magic trick. Second step, build a shelter. I didn't choose the cave Leo suggested. I surveyed the terrain, found a wind-sheltered rock face, and took out the only allowed tool, a military knife. In 3 quick moves, I cut sturdy branches, used the rock face for support, and in under 10 minutes constructed a simple A-frame tent-style shelter functional against wind and rain. Third step, find food. I avoided the brightly colored wild berries that might be poisonous. I went to the seaside reef, observed the tidal flow, and sharpened a branch with a knife to make a makeshift spear. I stood on the rocks, my eyes sharp as a hawk's, waiting silently. The moment a fish swam past, the spear shot out like lightning. Thwack, thwack! 2 swift strikes, and I skewered 2 plump fish, hauling them up. The entire process was fluid, taking less than 20 minutes. Fire, shelter, food, the 3 essentials for survival all solved. Ethan Miller was utterly dumbfounded. His financial theories that worked wonders on Wall Street were useless on this primitive island. His prized elite brain looked pale and weak against absolute survival skills. Seraphina looked at me, her expression a mixture of shock and an emotion she didn't realize she was feeling. Awe. She watched my scarred arm skillfully scale and gut the fish with a knife before placing it over the fire to roast. That potent, primal masculinity made her heart rate inexplicably quicken. The live chat was already on fire. OMG. Holy crap. Holy crap. Is this a trainer? Tell me this is a trainer. This is Bear Grylls. This hands-on ability. I seriously suspect he used to build houses. No, he was the captain of a wilderness construction crew. Your assessment is small scale. That skill, that look, that tactical awareness. If he's not special forces, I'll eat my keyboard. Where's my god, Ethan? Oh, he's over there having an existential crisis. Hilarious. The powerlessness of mere knowledge against absolute capability. Ate warmth in the storm 3 hours later. Just as Leo predicted, the weather abruptly turned. Dark clouds pressed down, the wind howled, and rain came down in heavy drops, accompanied by deafening thunder. I, Seraphina, and the 2 children were snug and dry in our shelter, eating perfectly grilled fish, listening to the storm outside. Ethan Miller, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. Too proud to squeeze in with us. I had casually used leftover branches and banana leaves to build him a shelter, so rudimentary it barely qualified. Now, that makeshift hut was leaking furiously, and he and his Armani suit were soaked, shivering in the wind. Worse, the vinyl record he insisted on bringing to show off his taste was ruined by the rain. Inside our shelter, however, the atmosphere was unusually cozy. Boom! A massive thunderclap exploded overhead. Little Seraphina shrieked and buried herself in my arms, her small body shaking uncontrollably. Daddy, fan there, I'm scared. I held her small body close, whispering reassurances. Then I extended my other hand, naturally, though my insides were incredibly stiff, and pulled Seraphina, who was beside me, closer too. Don't be scared. I'm here. My voice was low but carried an undeniable strength. Seraphina's body instantly went rigid. This was the first time in 3 years they had embraced so genuinely. No cameras, no performance, just the most instinctual act of drawing close and protecting. She leaned against my chest, scarred and hard as iron, listening to my steady, powerful heartbeat, punctuated by Ethan Miller's miserable cries outside. An unprecedented sense of security enveloped her. In this moment, she suddenly felt that all the grievances and bitterness she had suffered over the past 3 years seemed to vanish like smoke. As long as this man was by her side, even if it were the end of the world, she feared nothing. 9 City Treasure Hunt. After the 24-hour island survival challenge, we returned to the bustling city. Everyone thought we could finally relax, but the devilish director, Chien, clearly wasn't done tormenting us. The third stage of the mission followed immediately. City Treasure Hunt. The rules. The production team had hidden 10 markers bearing the show's logo throughout the various districts of S-City. Each marker corresponded to a clue written in a line of classical poetry. The family that found all 10 markers first would win. This task was clearly designed for Ethan Miller to regain his footing. He found his Wall Street elite confidence again. After receiving the clue card, he looked at the poem, a familiar, elegant smile returning to his lips. Too easy. He gave me a dismissive glance, then analyzed for Seraphina. Sarah, look. When the spring river warms, the ducks know first must refer to the Songha Pavilion, the original branch of the city's most famous Peking duck restaurant. And I stopped my carriage to love the maple-colored evening is undoubtedly the Love Maple Pavilion in West City Park. These are all places I brought you to back in the day. His words sounded like a boast about their past together, a past I knew nothing about. I looked at the poetry on my card. 2 orioles chirp among the green willows, a line of white egrets ascends the blue sky, It all gave me a massive headache. In the Ghost unit, we only learned hand-to-hand combat, shooting, infiltration, and demolition. No one taught us to memorize the 300 Tang poems. Ethan sped off in his flashy Porsche sports car, relying on his supposed scholarship and his powerful connections. He even called a director Lee in the city government to inquire about a landmark, quickly finding 5 markers and pulling far ahead. The tide of the live chat comments shifted. Ha ha, God Cole is stuck. I told you. No one is perfect. The humanities are his weak spot. God, Ethan rules in this area. This is the real upper-class elite. Logan Cole is ultimately just a brute with brawn. Poor Sarah, dating a Philistine like Logan, she probably can't even get a decent date spot. Seraphina also started to worry. Seeing me stumped, she quietly reminded me, Logan, a line of white egrets ascends the blue sky, probably refers to the city center's egret tower. I shook my head, cutting her off. In my dictionary, there was no such word as surrender. 10 counter-surveillance master seeing Ethan Miller about to collect all the markers. Seraphina was as anxious as an ant on a hot griddle. Just then, Leo beside me quietly pulled out his Winnie the Pooh laptop again. He whispered to me, Dad, don't panic. I just hacked the production team's backend server and got the precise GPS coordinates for all the markers. The data has been sent to your phone. I froze, then flatly refused. No, we don't cheat. That was my principle and the Ghost Unit's creed. Seeing the hint of disappointment in my son's eyes, I smiled and added, but we can track them in reverse. I gave up trying to decipher the headache-inducing poetry and started interpreting the game in my own way. I closed my eyes, rapidly constructing a 3D map of S City in my mind, marking our current location and the 5 spots Ethan had already found. Next, I began to observe. I pointed to a passerby nearby, talking on the phone, telling Seraphina, see that street corner? 3 suspicious individuals pretending to be on the phone or reading a newspaper, but their gaze sweeps toward the same direction, Love Maple Pavilion, every 30 seconds. There are plainclothes staff from the production team, watching that spot. I then looked toward the roof of a distant skyscraper. And there, on that rooftop 300 meters away, is an excellent sniper spot. See that reflection? That's not binoculars. It's a telephoto lens. Its scope is locked directly onto the Songha Pavilion. I was no longer a contestant trying to solve riddles. I had become the hunter, and all of the production team's cameras and staff were now my prey. I led Seraphina and the children away from the riddle-solving path, using my reconnaissance and counter-surveillance skills learned in the military to reverse track all of the production team surveillance points. That lady selling balloons, her cart hides a GoPro. That delivery bike parked on the street. The driver has changed 3 times, but the bike hasn't moved. The camera is in the helmet. Follow that drone. Its circling means the target point is right below it. We moved like ghosts through the city, precisely avoiding all the obvious clues, locating hidden markers using pure physical detection methods. Our speed even surpassed Ethan Miller's, who was driving his Porsche everywhere while making phone calls. We intercepted him right at the finish line. Ethan stared at the 10 collected markers in our hands, his expression like he'd seen a ghost. No, impossible. How could you be faster than me? Behind the monitors, the devilish director Chien dropped the cigarette dangling from his mouth, his jaw agape as he stared at the command on screen, mumbling to himself, What kind of job did this civilian have? A retired city pickpocket squad member? How did he find all our camera positions? The live chat comments flipped 180 degrees again, from mockery to shock. Holy crap, you can play it like that. What kind of god-tier move is this? I'm kneeling. I'm actually kneeling. Ethan Miller is playing Trivial Pursuit. Logan Cole is playing Counter-Strike. This isn't even the same dimension of game. Why am I watching this live stream kneeling, Mom? This guy is a human radar. Hashtag Logan Cole Human Radar, hashtag. Get this trending. 11th Street Performance, the city treasure hunt, concluded with our victory, but Director Chien's torment was far from over. The final city task was street performing. The rule was simple. Each family had to earn $1,000 for dinner money in S City Central Plaza through talent display. This was another segment designed for Ethan Miller to regain his confidence. He elegantly rented a pure white grand piano and set it up in the middle of the plaza. His long fingers danced across the keys, and a graceful rendition of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata filled the air. The high-class art instantly attracted a crowd of finely dressed, socialite fans who began tipping generously. He quickly hit the $1,000 mark. The control group's Ashton Hayes chose to perform a dance rap of his hit song. However, His infectious rhythm and piercing electronic music were mistaken for noise pollution by the local square dancing Andes, and he was nearly chased away with brooms, earning $0. When it was our turn, the awkwardness returned. Seraphina was an A-list actress. She couldn't just perform a scene on the street. The children were too young. As for me, I was a former special operative. Other than killing, I had no marketable talent. Just as the live chat was predicting another God-Cole failure, I paused, then told the director, "Can I borrow a deck of playing cards?" I took the cards and stood on a clear spot in the center of the plaza. I will perform a blindfolded fruit slicing with playing cards. Seraphina understood my nonverbal cue perfectly. She quickly bought cucumbers, apples, and a watermelon from a nearby stall and began tossing them into the air about 30 feet away, coordinating with my movements. I blindfolded myself with a black cloth, held my breath, and listened intently. The sound of the wind, the sound of the fruit cutting through the air, Seraphina's breath as she tossed. All the information converged in my mind into a precise trajectory. Swish, swish, swish. The playing cards in my hand transformed into streaks of white lightning, shooting out. The sharp edges of the cards sliced cleanly through every piece of fruit falling through the air, cutting them precisely in half with a mirror-smooth finish. The crowd erupted in thunderous applause and gasps. Ethan watched the crowd at my spot multiply exponentially compared to his piano performance, his face turning green with jealousy. He walked over and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, in a sickly sweet tone, just some tacky street acrobatics, nothing sophisticated. I heard him. I wasn't angry. In fact, I smiled. I turned to the director and asked, "May I borrow Mr. Etanes piano?" Both the director and Ethan froze. I walked over to the pure white grand piano, but didn't sit down. I stood with my back to the instrument, still holding the deck of cards. I turned to Seraphina and said, "Call out the notes." Though confused, Seraphina complied, shouting the first note, "Do." The moment she spoke, I flicked my wrist. A card shot out like a bullet, tracing a perfect arc, hitting the do key with pinpoint accuracy. Ding! The entire plaza fell silent. Ding! Me! Ding! Sol! Ding! Following Seraphina's cues, I played a complete rendition of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star using the piano keys, all while standing with my back to the instrument, relying only on sound localization and my cards. As the final note faded, the entire plaza exploded. Cheers, screams, and applause nearly shook the sky. People swarmed forward, stuffing bills into the donation box in front of us. Hundreds, fifties. It was raining money. Ethan stood there dumbfounded, his face ashen. His elegant piano music had been utterly drowned out by my unbelievable, God-tier skill. His treasured high artistry had been crushed into dust and rendered worthless before my inexplicable divine talent. 12. Rapids Rescue, the street performance segment, concluded with a victory that crushed Ethan Miller's last shred of superiority. The next few days saw the show enter its final outdoor challenge, whitewater rafting. This was still child's play for me. Arm swimming, swift water survival. These were basic ghost unit training drills. I easily navigated the raft, carrying Seraphina and the kids smoothly through the turbulent river. However, an accident occurred. It happened to the control group member, Ashton Hayes. He was already flailing, and during a sharp turn in a rapid, his raft lost control and slammed into a rock. His 4-year-old nephew, little Ashton, was jolted loose during the impact and fell into the ice-cold river. Little Ashton Hayes was terrified out of his mind. He was a non-swimmer and could only scream in panic aboard the boat. Seeing the child about to be swept away by the current, I didn't hesitate. I stabilized our raft, told Seraphina, "Watch the kids," and then leaped off, plunging into the raging river. The icy water instantly enveloped me, but my body was long accustomed to the sensation. I moved like a fish, fighting the current, swimming toward little Ashton at top speed. Just as the child was about to be sucked into a vortex, I grabbed his arm, clutching him tightly to my chest, and fought my way toward the bank. 13 line of life, I carried little Ashton ashore. The child, due to swallowing water in shock, was semi-conscious, his lips blue, his breathing shallow. The situation was critical. The production team's paramedics were still upstream. By the time they arrived, it would be too late. I immediately began professional tactical first aid on the child. First, water extraction. I knelt on one knee, placed the child's abdomen over my thigh with his head hanging low, and rhythmically pressed on his back to expel the water from his lungs and stomach. Next, CPR. I laid him flat on the ground, loosened his collar, and began chest compressions and rescue breaths. My movements were precise and efficient, wasting not a single second. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Just as everyone held their breath, little Ashton spat out a mouthful of water and started crying, "Wah!" He was saved. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. The shaken Ashton Hayes scrambled up from the bank, and upon seeing his nephew safe, he could no longer contain his emotion. With a thud, he knelt before me on national live television. "Brother Cole, thank you. You are my nephew's savior. You're my real brother." He babbled incoherently, clinging to my leg and weeping like a child. Seraphina stood nearby, watching my calm, composed rescue, watching the arrogant top idol kneel before me. The feeling in her heart was an indescribable mixture of shock and pride. This man, no matter the time or place, was like a mountain capable of holding up the sky. 14 public opinion reversal. This rescue incident became the final straw that ignited public opinion across the nation. As soon as the live stream ended, the online narrative completely flipped. The once blasted hashtag Seraphina Vance child abuse hashtag had completely vanished from the trending charts. In its place were several new, intensely popular tags. Hashtag Logan Cole a man of God, hashtag Seraphina Vance adoring gays, hashtag please don't let Coach Cole leave showbiz, hashtag. Netizens compiled all my previous performances, the God-tier knife skills, the island survival, the tactical treasure hunt, the card-throwing magic, and now this whitewater rescue, into a high-octane compilation clip that went viral on every platform. What civilian? This is clearly a soldier king sent by the state to fight poverty in showbiz. I announce Coach Cole is the ceiling for what a husband should be. Capable in the boardroom and the kitchen, survival skills and river rescue are no problem. Peak security. Did you notice the way Seraphina Vance looks at him every time Coach Cole shows off? That's not acting. That's pure, naked adoration and love. Everyone who said they were a fake couple needs to come forward and take a beating. If this was fake, I'll twist my head off and use it as a soccer ball for you guys. My perfect performance not only cleared Seraphina's name, but unexpectedly won her a huge influx of new fans. Our warrior and A-lister CP became the hottest pairing online. But the public's frenzy gave me an unprecedented sense of pressure. 15 Ethan Miller's conspiracy, seeing the relationship between me and Seraphina growing more harmonious on camera. One person couldn't sit still. Ethan Miller. He was unwilling to lose to a mere personal trainer. That evening, he returned to our villa again under the guise of visiting a friend. This time, he brought a game changer, a rare, expensive vinyl record by Seraphina's favorite niche band. In front of me, he placed the record on the turntable, and the gentle, obscure music filled the living room. Then, he began reminiscing with Seraphina about their shared memories. "So, Romombe? We found this record together when we were in New York. You said it was the most soulful music you'd ever heard." He poured another glass of red wine and chatted with Seraphina about art, finance, and anecdotes from Wall Street. Worlds I couldn't understand or interject into. On camera, Ethan was polite, erudite, standing next to Seraphina in her couture gown, a perfect picture of a handsome scholar and a beautiful lady. Meanwhile, I, in my faded t-shirt, sat in the corner like an intrusive, superfluous guest. 16, the uncrossable chasm, watching them converse, so congenially made my chest tighten painfully. I looked down at myself, hands calloused, covered in vicious scars, and the social identity of a personal trainer. Ethan, on the other hand, had a glittering resume and shared history with Seraphina, able to give her everything she desired. I suddenly understood. Perhaps Seraphina only asked me to be her shield to weather this PR crisis. Once the crisis passed, we would return to our separate worlds. She would remain the revered A-lister, with someone like Ethan by her side, and I would go back to my gym, continuing to be just a trainer. An uncrossable chasm lay between us. It was there 3 years ago, and it was still there 3 years later. 17, drawing away from that day forward, I began deliberately maintaining distance from Seraphina. On camera, I continued to play the role of the perfect husband, cooperating with her to complete the tasks. But the moment the camera moved away, I would immediately release her hand and retreat to a safe distance. Our zero communication intensified. Before, that zero communication held a trace of awkwardness and testing. Now it was just cold alienation. Seraphina clearly noticed the change in me. She started becoming flustered and lost. She tried to speak to me several times, but each time she saw the coldness in my eyes, she swallowed her words. She didn't know why I suddenly acted this way. She thought I was tired of this acting game. She thought the contract was about to expire, and I was desperate to leave. She panicked, truly panicked. 18. The B surveillance. My low mood delighted Ethan Miller the most. But he was unaware that two little ones had already marked him as enemy number one. That day, I was alone on the balcony, breaking my rule to light a cigarette. I rarely smoked after retiring, unless my anxiety reached an unbearable peak. In the living room, Leo watched my dejected back, adjusted his non-existent glasses, and his expression turned cold. Target exhibiting emotional volatility. Threat level escalating. 0. Initiate counterattack protocol. He said to his sister. He took out a palm-sized micro-drone and remotely flew it around the living room, wobbling erratically like an out-of-control toy. Ethan was just leaving, carrying his briefcase. Oops, Leo exclaimed. The drone, as if drunk, flew straight into Ethan's open briefcase. Leo immediately ran over, feigning apology. I'm so sorry, Uncle Ethan. My little bee flew into your bag. Just carry it for now, and I'll use remote control to make it fly out later. Ethan didn't suspect anything and smiled, patting Leo's head. No problem, a little man should play with these things. He didn't know that, from that moment on, a spy equipped with a high-definition camera and microphone began 24/7 surveillance on him. 19. The toddler's assist. The brother handled technical reconnaissance. The sister handled frontline stunt work. The next day, Ethan returned, eagerly offering Seraphina a freshly brewed cup of coffee while she was reading a script. Just as he extended his hand, little Seraphina shot across like a little cannonball and accidentally bumped into him. Splash! The scalding hot coffee mostly drenched Ethan's expensive suit trousers. Ethan sucked in a sharp breath, wincing, but in front of the cameras, he had to suppress his anger and force a smile that looked worse than crying. It's fine, little Sarah, not hot. Little Sarah immediately deployed her Oscar-worthy acting skills, pouting, tears welling up in her eyes, and saying dramatically, Wah! Uncle Ethan, I'm so sorry. Is this cat poop coffee? It smells so expensive. Not like my dad, he only makes that $1 a pack instant coffee. Ethan's face showed a fleeting sense of triumph. However, little Sarah's tone shifted, filled with pride. But my dad's coffee never burns Mommy, because he always tests the temperature on the back of his own hand first, and only gives it to Mommy when it's not hot. The moment she said that, everyone froze. This was a tiny detail. Ethan had given Seraphina a piping hot Americano, the way he liked it. But I had quietly noted her preference. No sugar, half and half, and just the right temperature to drink. Seraphina's heart felt like it had been struck by something heavy. She looked up in a panic, saw me quietly placing a cup of brewed instant coffee by her side, and afraid I would misunderstand her interaction with Ethan. She practically snatched the cup, took a large gulp, and then flashed a contented smile at the camera. This one tastes better. Ethan's face instantly turned ashen. The live chat went wild again over the toddler's divine assist. Ha ha, sweet bean, well done. That's a perfect collision. The details betray the truth. Love or not, it's all in the little things. I declare little Sarah the best assist giver of the season. Who agrees and who opposes? 20. Ashton Hayes' scandal. Ethan realized that not only was he being crushed in terms of hard skills, but he couldn't gain any ground with the children either. He was completely enraged. He decided to up the stakes and muddy the waters further. Soon, a bombshell scandal dropped onto the trending charts without any warning. Hashtag Top Idol Ashton Hayes has an illegitimate child hashtag. The anonymous tipster released a DNA report and several photos of Ashton secretly taking little Ashton to the hospital. The evidence was conclusive. Ashton had always claimed publicly that little Ashton was the child of his older brother, his nephew. Now, that lie was ruthlessly exposed. An illegitimate child is a career-ending disaster for an idol focused on image. Ashton Hayes' career had collapsed. 21. The Guardian. After the scandal broke, countless reporters and paparazzi, like sharks smelling blood, swarmed our filming base. They surrounded the villa, aiming their long lenses and camera cannons at every exit. Ashton Hayes completely broke down. He hid in his room, head in his hands, completely dazed, unable to even hear his child crying outside. It was Seraphina who picked up the frightened little Ashton and brought him to us for temporary care. The reporters outside grew increasingly frantic, with some even attempting to climb the walls. Just then, I stepped forward. I opened the villa's main door and stood alone before all the reporters. My frame was tall, my gaze terrifyingly cold, and the killer aura forged in mountains of corpses and seas of blood was unleashed without reservation. All the reporters were stunned by my commanding presence and instinctively took a step back. I looked at them, my voice not loud, but clear enough for everyone to hear. The child is innocent. Your lenses can aim at anyone, but they cannot aim at him. Anyone who dares touch him must step over my body first. My words landed like stones. In that moment, I wasn't a personal trainer, nor the A-lister's contract husband. I was Pluto of the Ghost Unit. Protecting the weak is an instinct branded into my very core. The reporters were completely subdued. 22 The Devil's Tailpiece, my act of protecting Ashton Hayes' child, earned me a new wave of online praise. But simultaneously, Leo's Little Bee drone captured key evidence. In a deserted corner, Ethan Miller was on the phone. Yes, I leaked it anonymously. With Ashton Hayes gone, the water is now sufficiently murky. The next step is Seraphina Vance. Once I acquire control by securing 30% of her Vance Media shares, she won't be able to leave me. Leo silently saved the recording and video. A cold smile, completely unfitting for his age, appeared on his little face. The devil's tail has shown itself. 23 Truth or Dare Family Face-Off finally entered its last episode of filming. On the night before wrapping up, the devilish director Chien arranged the most classic segment, the spousal truth or dare. Under dim lighting, Seraphina and I sat facing each other, separated only by a small table. Director Chien spoke through the loudspeaker, asking the question every viewer wanted answered. Mr. Cole, final question. Over this past month, you and Ms. Vince have been through so much. Now, in front of the entire nation, I want to ask you, do you love Seraphina Vance? The entire world seemed to fall silent. Seraphina looked at me nervously, her hands tightly clenched under the table, knuckles white. Her eyes held both expectation and profound fear. I remained silent. In my mind flashed that cold-induced abortion record, flashed the image of her happily chatting with Ethan Miller, flashed the uncrossable chasm between us. Love? I might love the young actress from 3 years ago who used to coax me and get angry when I came home late. But this superstar in front of me, this aloof A-lister, I didn't know. I only knew I owed her. I looked up, meeting her hopeful gaze, and then, word by word, I spoke the cruelest words. I'm just a personal trainer. Our contract is up. 24 The parting agreement. My answer was a knife, plunging straight into Seraphina's heart. The color drained from her face instantly, leaving her deathly pale. The light in her eyes slowly dimmed, and then, finally, went out completely. She understood. This had truly been nothing more than a transaction. The show was wrapped. At the wrap party, everyone was clinking glasses and laughing. Only our table was steeped in an atmosphere as cold as an Arctic front. As soon as the party ended, I left without saying goodbye to anyone. I returned to the villa and packed my meager belongings. Then, I pulled out a document I had prepared long ago from my bag and placed it on the bedside table. It was a divorce decree signed with my name. Even though our marriage might have legally dissolved the moment I was presumed dead, this document was the period I placed on this farce. Having done all that, I pulled my suitcase and left without looking back. I booked the earliest flight to the border. 3 years ago, all my comrades sacrificed themselves in the operation codenamed Abyss. Now my atonement was complete. It was time for me to visit their graves. 25 The Mercury retrograde excused Seraphina returned to the villa and froze when she saw the signed divorce decree on the bedside table. Contract is up. Never see each other again. Logan Cole's words and his cold eyes echoed repeatedly in her mind. No, she wouldn't allow it. She had lost him once 3 years ago. This time, she absolutely would not let go. Leo. Seraphina's voice became sharp with urgency. Leo, who was packing his equipment, looked up, tracked Dad's current location. Now, without a word, Leo opened his Winnie the Pooh laptop, his fingers flying across the keyboard. In less than 10 seconds, a red dot appeared on the map of S-City's airport. Mom, Dad is at Terminal 2, going through security. The flight to the Yunnan border leaves in 45 minutes. Seraphina grabbed the car keys and shot out like a maniac. At the airport, at the security checkpoint, I had just handed my ID and ticket to the agent when a familiar, desperate voice called out from behind me. Logan Cole, stop right there. I turned to see Seraphina Vance, breathless. She had run so hard that her hair was a mess and her makeup was smeared. Not a trace of the A-lister remained. I frowned, my voice cold. Ms. Vance, our contract is over. I don't care about any contract. Seraphina rushed up to me and snatched my ticket and ID, clutching them tightly. She looked at me, her mind racing to find a reason to make me stay. In desperation, the first excuse tumbled out. It's Mercury retrograde today. A master just calculated it for me this morning. Mercury is in retrograde, which means no legal documents should be processed. We can discuss the divorce tomorrow. Me? I was stunned by her absurd reason. Seraphina Vance. I'm a soldier, a materialist. I don't believe in that stuff. I try to take back my documents. 26th The Charity Schoolhouse. Lie seeing the Mercury retrograde. Excuse fail. Seraphina grew more desperate. Passers-by had started recognizing her, pulling out their phones to take pictures. She looked at me, thinking fast for a second excuse. You stop. She pointed at my luggage and declared righteously. Yesterday on the show, you broke the sponsor's cooking pot. Remember? You used it like a combat entrenching tool during the river rafting. That pot was German imported, cost a fortune. You haven't paid for it yet. You're not allowed to leave. I sighed in resignation. I pulled a black card from my pocket and handed it to her. This is the black card from Ultimate Fitness. It has no spending limit. No matter how expensive the pot, I can cover it. Seraphina stared at the black card, speechless. Seeing me about to turn away again, she threw all caution to the wind. She took a deep breath and almost yelled, Logan, I just donated a charity schoolhouse to a mountain village in the name of us as a couple. The contract term is 3 years. If you leave now and the media digs it up, we'll be committing public fraud. I'll be blacklisted by the entire industry. Can you afford the consequences of that? This time, I truly faltered. I stopped, turned around, and looked at her in disbelief. Yep. To keep me here, this woman would pull stunts like this? 27 The truth revealed, seeing that I was shaken. Seraphina pressed her advantage, forcibly pulling me into the airport's VIP lounge. She cleared the entire lounge, making sure only the two of us remained. I looked at her, rubbing my temples in exhaustion. Seraphina Vance, what exactly do you want? I want you to stay, she blurted out. The reason? She stammered for a long time, unable to articulate a single coherent justification. Seeing her like this, the nameless anger in my chest flared up again. I didn't want to continue this ambiguous entanglement. I decided to speak the issue that had been buried in my heart, the fundamental problem between us. Seraphina Vance, we can't go back. I looked her in the eye and said word by word, didn't you already terminate our child? That sentence hit Seraphina like a thunderbolt. Her entire body froze, and she looked at me in disbelief, her voice trembling. What? What did you say? What do you mean? Our child. 3 years ago, St. Jude's Memorial Hospital in S City, the surgical record for the artificial termination. Do you forget that? I stared hard into her eyes, trying to find even a shred of deception on her face. But I only saw shock and endless sorrow. It's fake, she murmured, tears instantly bursting forth. It was faked. Ethan Miller forged it. I thought you were dead. I thought you were killed in the BIS operation. How could I ever abort your child? That was our only memory of you. She broke down. All the grievances, the longing, the pain of the past 3 years erupted in that single moment. Crying and laughing, she screamed at me hysterically. Logan Cole, you bastard. You blind, idiotic bastard. Didn't you even look at the names of those 2 children? One is named Leo Cole. The other is named Seraphina Jr. Leo Cole means I miss the Cole family. Seraphina Jr. means I, Seraphina Vance, miss you. I missed you for 5 years. A whole 5 years. My mind went blank, boom. Leo Cole. Seraphina Jr. Miss you. I didn't lose a child. I have twins. I have children. I stood there like a statue. 28 The test, I still didn't believe it. Or rather, I didn't dare to believe it. For 3 years, the matter of aborting the child had been a mountain crushing my spirit, an inescapable mental demon. Now, Seraphina Vance was suddenly telling me it was all a lie. I needed evidence. I only trusted evidence. I rushed back to the villa and found Leo playing on the computer. Without a word, I plucked a strand of hair from his head. Then I pulled one from my own head. Mom, what's Dad doing? Little Seraphina on the side was terrified. Seraphina, eyes red, yelled at me. Logan Cole, what are you doing? DNA test. Holding the 2 strands of hair, I bolted out of the villa without looking back. I needed to get to the nearest facility for an expedited paternity test. As I sped out of the gated community, my phone rang. It was Wolf. I answered, and his anxious, guilty voice came through. Captain, something happened. That abortion record I dug up for you 3 years ago. It's fake. I slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt on the side of the road. What did you say? It's true, Captain. Wolf's voice cracked with tears. I was just. Somehow, my firewall was suddenly breached, and a file popped up directly. I traced the path and found that the database I hacked into at St. Jude's Memorial 3 years ago was a modified mirror image. I just hacked into the original database. There is absolutely no record of Ms. Vance having an abortion. That record was planted. Ethan Miller hired someone to force it in. Captain, I'm so sorry. I made you misunderstand your sister-in-law for 3 years. The phone slipped from my grasp. The sunlight outside hurt my eyes. It was real. I really had children. 29 burning rage. The rage instantly ignited inside me. But my anger wasn't directed at Wolf, nor at Seraphina Vance. It was aimed squarely at Ethan Miller. I wasn't angry that he stole the woman I loved. I was furious that he used such despicable tactics to deceive me, making me live under the guilt of killing my own child for 3 years. He made me deprive my twin children of 5 years of fatherly love. Unforgivable. I spun the car around, floored the accelerator, and sped toward the hotel hosting the family face-off wrap party. Tonight was the ceremony and the final live broadcast. Ethan Miller, as one of the show's biggest investors, would certainly be there. Old scores and new grievances. Tonight, I would settle them all. 30 The Net closes in backstage at the wrap party in the makeup room. Ethan Miller was on the phone with a man, wearing a smile of absolute certainty. His briefcase sat on the nearby sofa, and inside, the Little B drone's camera flickered with a faint red light. Don't worry, Mr. Lee. Seraphina Vance is still just as gullible. She trusts me completely now. Once I announce the acquisition of a 30% stake in her Vance Media tonight and gain control, she'll be completely mine. Then our two companies will join forces and we'll control the entire entertainment industry. In the villa, Leo watched the real-time feed on his laptop screen, pushed up his children's sunglasses, and a cold smile touched his little face. He turned to his sister, who was busy eating strawberry cake. Zero, prepare to close the net. Sweet Bean, get your tears ready. Little Seraphina blinked her big eyes, nodding vigorously, then shoveled another huge spoonful of cake in her mouth, mumbling indistinctly, received. Mission guaranteed completion. 31 The ultimate bombshell, the main stage of the wrap party was brilliantly lit, dazzling with celebrity glamour. The entire nation watched the gala via live stream. As the main investor, Ethan Miller strode confidently onto the stage. He picked up a microphone, cleared his throat, his face still holding that characteristic elite smile. Good evening, esteemed guests and members of the press. Taking advantage of the joyous conclusion of Family Face-Off, I have another piece of good news to announce. He paused, his gaze drifting towards Seraphina Vance in the audience, his eyes full of triumphant control. That is, my venture capital firm will officially announce the acquisition of. Before he could finish, the massive LED screen behind him flashed, and the image switched. The screen, which had been showing highlight reels from the show, now displayed a computer desktop. Then, file after file was opened with the mouse at lightning speed, displayed before the entire national audience. The first file was a transfer record from a Swiss bank. The payee was the actress who had previously competed with Seraphina Vance for the Best Actress Award. The transfer memo read 4 words, child abuse hot search. The second file was a screen recording of computer operations. The video clearly documented how a hacker with a Wall Street IP address breached the database of S City Street, Jude's Memorial Hospital, and implanted a forged artificial termination record. The third file was Ethan Miller's insider trading record. He used inside information to short Vance Media stock heavily before the child abuse news broke, then bought up shares at a low price after the stock rebounded when Seraphina joined the show, attempting a hostile takeover. All the evidence was interlinked, ironclad. The entire venue erupted in an uproar. The live chat, after 3 seconds of silence, exploded with an unprecedented density of comments. Holy crap! Holy crap! Huge news! So Ethan Miller orchestrated the child abuse story. Forged termination records? Malicious short selling? This is corporate crime. Vicious. I just threw up. I used to think he was some elite god. Turns out he's just a PUA scumbag.